Now, this is my presentation on how to create or make a chandelier lift for under $50. This is what I started off with, just an empty void on the two-story house which I wanted to fill. Obviously no chance to put any uh, ladders or anything up against it, hence the reason for the winch. That's the plate that was there with the circular ring and the cable coming through it. You can sort of see there's one shot with it dropped down with the chandelier partially done, and when it was completed. Now those four bits of cardboard, just a bit of support when it hit the roof section. So I guess I start off with the winch. All I've done is I've purchased a trailer winch from a local trailer part supplier here in Perth. I paid $20 from this off Gumtree, so brand new. It came with a belt on it, which I've removed, and I've replaced it with the stainless steel cable. So $20 winch, like I said, brand new. Has a weight load of around about 1,100 kilos or 2,500 pounds, so well and truly enough for the chandelier. The chandelier's around about 25 kilos, 25 kilos, so about 50 pounds in the old scale. So what I've done is, on this case, I've stripped off all the webbing that was on there, and I've replaced it with a stainless steel cable. So this stainless steel cable is 2mm thick stainless steel cable, which I've doubled over, and it's a 7x19 gauge stainless steel cable, which gives you a breaking strain of around about 275 kilos, which I think is around about 600 pounds. So hanging off that is I've got a wood drift off the end there, which sort of gives you the distance to get away from the actual fitting itself. I wanted some clearance there, so I've got this wood coming off from there, and then from there you can see a hollow threaded rod. That's a 10mm rod, and that's available from any lighting supplier or anything like that. So I've utilised, obviously being a hollow rod, I've put the stainless steel cable through there, and there's a bit of added insurance. So a threaded rod locked off with a couple of nuts as well, so that's taken the load of the chandelier as well as the actual cable itself. So should anything happen, I've built in a bit of redundancy in there just in case something should happen. I just want to have that added caution of doing that. So basically I've only drilled a couple of holes. One is for the actual threaded rod to come through, and the other, if I just move the insulation back, there's another hole there which was for the plug. So 240 volt here in Australia, so I've brought that through. I whizzed it around. I've put a surface mount socket, and it's a 413 socket, and just a 3-pin plug here. So should I ever need to disconnect it and drop the chandelier to replace a globe or wherever it may be, just go disconnect the plug, undo these two nuts here, and just feed it and wind it down, and the chandelier will drop. And then obviously bring it back up is the reverse, bring it up and plug it into the power point. So yeah, I thought I'd just give you a quick visual of what's happened here. About the wood that I've used, it's just standard pine which I had knocking about the house. These beams are about 90mm wide by 35mm deep or high. And using hanging off that, we'll have secured it is with some batten bolts. These are 125mm long bolts. As you can see, I've got a couple of standoffs here, so they're 35mm, so it's about 70mm there, and the timber, which was another 35mm. So well and truly enough. And as you can sort of see, I've countersunk the holes too, so it really gets good biting into the timber below to make sure it's secure. And I've put two on each side, two there, two there, two there, and two there. And as you can sort of see, that structure holds the winch in place securely. With the winch itself, there's a couple of bolts, obviously you can see one there, and there's two at the front there that secure the winch in position. So that's pretty much it on how I did it. So yeah, 125mm rafter bolts going straight through, which gives it plenty of meat into it, and that's not going nowhere. It's quite strong. On the other side, where the actual nut is to secure the chandelier. I've done another standoff around about 25mm, which is a bit hard to see. And then again, another piece of timber, roughly a 4x2 there, just to screw it in. I didn't want any chance of flexing or anything like that, so that's maybe a little bit overkill, but at the end of the day, I want it to stay there and have no chance of it falling down. So effectively, that's how it works up this end. And just for added safety, should someone go on here or knock it, I've also just put a locking, if I can see it from there, a locking cable through the pin, and I've drilled a hole through the actual mechanism that winds the lift down. So obviously it's locked in the lock position, so there's no way that can accidentally, if someone comes in, a tradesman that steps on it or whatever it may be, they can't accidentally flick it and then make it free fall, which it shouldn't do anyway, for a couple of reasons. One is the winch shouldn't let it lock in with the way it's geared. Also the fact that I've got those two nuts holding it all in position there. So, but again, a bit of added security doesn't hurt. So that's pretty much on the top side of things on how it's been done up here. So it was quite easy to do, bring up the wood bits at a time through a manhole and that sort of stuff. But effectively it worked out well, and yeah, and I'll show you from the bottom side with regards to the actual chandelier itself, and I'll give you some detail on the chandelier, just more for a reference point with regards to sizing and weights and all that sort of stuff. Okay. Alright, so I thought I'd go through some of the major components that you would have just seen that was installed up in the roof space. So as I said, I bought this trailer winch for around about, well, was $20, brand new, from a local trailer supplier here in Perth. So nothing flash, but it's rated at 2,500 pounds. The chandelier is around about 50 pounds. So the gearing and all that, definitely shouldn't be an issue with it whatsoever. So yeah, like the chandelier's about, yeah, so that's 23 kilos and it's 1,136 kilos. So more than enough to do what needs to be done. Like I said, it came with that belt, which I stripped off. I didn't want to use a belt, being up in the roof space, that sort of stuff. Plus, I really needed a smaller diameter to thread through the ceiling, so I ended up using a stainless steel cable. Like I said, it's a 7x19 pattern 2mm cable, which had a breaking strain of, like I said, 275 kilos, or around about 600 pounds. So well and truly strong enough, if anything, it's over-engineered, but that's why I wanted it, to ensure that the chandelier was safe and that, you know, there's no chance of it falling down. So a couple of other things which just went along with it was these bugle head screws which I bought. Yes, a 14 gauge 125mm, so around about 5 inches long. So they're a decent set of bolts. I'll get one out. Decent set of screws, just so you can get an idea of what they look like. They're pretty big, so, which is the way I want it. So effectively that was the timbers that I held up in the roof, and that's what I was tying into. So you can see there pretty much that more than enough. And I had a couple of standoffs on there, but I still went in probably a good 40 to 50mm into the main timbers, and that was reinforced in with 4 on every board, so there was 8 all up bolted in there. So that was the timbers that I used. Like I said, it was just offcuts which I've got from family and all that sort of stuff, which they had knocking about. So that made the job easier as well. Didn't need to buy any timber, but again, it's cheap timber. It's nothing flash. It's non-structural pine, so there's no issue there. The only thing that I really paid for was the actual winch itself. I've got this threaded rod. I mean, I had a bit of this knocking about anyway, but you can go from a lighting supplier for around about $10 for about a foot length sort of thing. So it is very fine gauge. I don't know if the camera will pick this up. Very fine threads on it. So I was a bit concerned by that, because obviously it's not designed to be holding a chandelier up there, but I've used 2 nuts to lock in tight. Seems strong enough. Again, the chandelier is supported by the cable as well as those nuts, so I wouldn't have one or the other, but in tandem, having both there, I'm confident that it's safe enough and it will hold. So, but But in any case, like I said, it is a bit fine, but in the day it did the job. So yeah, that was just basically a hollow rod. So you can sort of see straight through there like that. So, and that's where the cable went through. So what I did was had the cable go through the chandelier and back up to the top again, so it looped on itself. And what I did was I just had a locking ring sitting on the bottom of the rod here, which I might be able to post a photo of that. So a ring was sitting on there, and basically the cable fed through the ring and back up and out again. So that's what gave me the actual security there with that ring, and that was a stainless steel ring again. I could not move the thing, and I pulled on it and just saw see if it went out of shape or anything like that. It just didn't go anywhere. So again, more than enough to hold that. But again, it was all about building it for a safety aspect. That's what I wanted. I didn't want to cut corners and have any chance of it falling on anyone. So I'll show you the chandelier and some of the wiring that was up there. Okay, so now I'm on the ground floor, basically through, just coming through the front doors here. So as I wind up, you can see the chandelier there. So that drop from this floor to the ceiling is around about 6.6 meters, 6.5, 6.6 meters. And as it is, as you can sort of see, the major issue that I had, and the reason why I did what I did was because I couldn't physically get to it. It was a major problem. I just couldn't get to it, and I wanted, in case globes blow and all that sort of stuff, that I was able to access it and do it that way. So I've actually got some photos of it as we was putting it up to give you a bit of an idea with it hanging down and that sort of thing. But one thing to pay attention to as well was when I bought the chandelier, all this stuff's made out of China, but it's all right. It seems to be all okay. They use GU10 globes, which they came with halogens in there, and I opted to go for LEDs. Obviously a lot cooler, as well as the longevity of it. The last thing I'm going to do is drop this thing down every 6 months and mess around with it. So I think I bought Philips GU10 cool white globes. There's 9 of them actually in that plate. But at the end of the day, I think it gives you something like 15,000 hours out of it. So I'm pretty confident that they'll do the job. It's cool white, so it's quite bright, but with 9 of them there, at the end of the day, it looks really good at night time, and it serves its purpose. And like I said, I don't need to worry about changing globes, but should I ever need to, at least the facility's there to drop the chandelier to access it, or if I want to clean it, whatever it may be. So that's the chandelier there. With regards to the switching, what I've done is that here on the wall I've got a switch plate here. For the Aussies out there, this is a Clipsal Saturn switch here. So what it is the bottom switch here does the chandelier, and it's two-way switching. So I've also got another switch that's at the top of the stairs. So if I'm upstairs, I can actually, it's probably a bit hard to see with this, but upstairs there's another panel there in the middle of the screen. So obviously you can switch it off and on from either downstairs or upstairs, and that was wired through back to that 413 surface socket, and effectively all I need to do is just disconnect it there as any lamp, and then you can bring it down. So that was an easy way as well as doing it. So, and the good thing is having two-way switching just gives you the facility to switch it off or on from either downstairs or upstairs. So yeah, so that's how it's all been done. Yeah, so just on that, I'll just switch it on. These things are great, I must admit. They're great, but they're bloody expensive. But they do look nice, and it's a bit hard to see on the camera there, but they're backlit with blue light. So when it's dark at night, when it's not on, it shows a blue ring around the actual push button. So it's easy to find it at night time when you're walking in. It's a dark room, and when you switch it on, that blue light does go out. It depends on how you want to configure it, but that's why I've configured it here for the sake of ease. Also, it means I don't need to have a separate neutral, which I don't have down in the wall anyway. So that's the way it's set up. So effectively, if I switch it on, and I pan up, you can see this. You can see it there, sparkling with those 9 GU10 globes there.